Yeah.
Blast Pro Series Miami, people. We've got Astralis, Cloud9, FaZe, Liquid, MIBR, and Na'Vi. Why the fuck are Cloud9 there? I could at any point say why the fuck MIBR and
why don't we
FaZe there if
start from
they
the
keep
bottom,
playing
right?
like this. But
Cloud9 invited to ESL, like the Blast Pro Series Miami, world ranking 140.
Yeah. I mean, like,
oh god.
okay, we've been downplaying them a lot, and obviously
Striker
there's
fucked up
reason
his-
for
here.
it. There's reason for it.
Can I just
But
say
it's-
my thing before we get to this? I said
Yeah.
to you guys earlier off stream, right? Blast Pro Series, I love the event. It can be quite fun, but it is basically a money laundering scam. So Astralis can get 250 grand in their back pocket as easy as possible, because the only team that can challenge them is either Liquid or Na'Vi here. And somehow, some way, I don't think it's going to happen anyway. It's going to be Astralis going, cool, give us that moolah, baby.
Now we're also talking in the chat, like, just make it like a King of the Hill style event where Astralis is waiting in the grand final and everyone else is just
yeah.
Might
like
as well.
battling on the other side of the bracket.
We
Or
wanna
just-
get to them.
The problem is like people can beat them in best of one. They're not gonna win the final. That's the opposite. Like once Astralis win the group, they win the entire event. That's how
Exactly,
it
yeah.
should work.
As soon as it gets the best of three, we're like, okay.
Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly. Like we're a little bit skeptical about like some of these best of ones, like them potentially losing to Navi or potentially losing to Liquid or something, or
Yeah.
potentially both. Back like a couple months ago, we might have said it might be our whatever. Astralis, when we were talking about these best of ones, we always gave them a chance not to go through, as they have before, as they have in Copenhagen last year. So that's what we've been saying about these blast events, but
Still
like,
giving them that chance.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like
You have to.
what do you call it? I'm cautiously skeptical, whatever.
I'd
Something
love
like
to have
that.
seen Vertigo. I know they've decided they're not going to have Vertigo,
Yeah,
so
they're
this
not gonna
blast the
have that.
next one. But I would love to have seen them just thrown it in to just see, okay, maybe if Astralis can...
Maybe
Everyone
they're
has
gonna
to
play
be
the
get it in
standoff.
there.
in that.
Maybe they're gonna play a standoff on it. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, that'd be
That's
quite
not
cool.
gonna happen.
Nah,
though.
they're gonna
It's
play
not
on
gonna
the,
happen.
on the fun map,
Yeah.
surf map.
For me, this is the same situation as what we saw in Sao Paulo. Jesus Christ.
I'm Paul, yeah.
What? How was that like 2 weeks ago? Fuck me. All right. Anyway.
Dad, your life's a mess. It's fine. You don't have to remember it.
Astralis are the clear favorite, right? That goes without saying. Astralis are the clear favorite, but we do give the outside chance that they could be upset in best of ones.
Uh-huh.
The next step is exactly what we saw at Sao Paulo in the sense of it was Liquid and Ents as who was going to be number two. Well, this time it's Liquid and Na'Vi of who's going to be number two. And then the question is, how much more of their shit together can FaZe and MIBR get? Because MIBR, it seems like they're citing the issues have been too many events in a row, which if you look at their calendar, you go, yeah, that is clearly too many events in a row, right? And I think you could say the same for a decent amount of teams. But I think the thing that we kind of, not a trap we fell into, but maybe just to give MIBR a little bit of slack, is that you think about the amount of time that they had to genuinely practice from the holiday period to the major since the reintroduction of Taco and Phelps. Maybe it was 12 days, maybe. And then from there, they went on like a bit of a world tour. So they went from China to Brazil to China, right? In absolutely no time. And now they're going to Miami. Now, obviously, people are like, yeah, they're choosing to do this. Yes, they are, right? But hindsight's 2020, and clearly they know that they fucked up in this regard. So they didn't actually give themselves a lot of time to practice and get things up to modern CS. Now, coming on in as a legendary team who, were very, very good in their time. And we go, okay, well, this roster, we have the core. They should just be good to start with. Well, Counter-Strike has developed and changed a lot since then. And I don't think that coming into it that they thought it was going to be easy, and it clearly hasn't been easy. But the growth and potential is still there. So if they take a break, if they take, obviously they're committed to this event, so they're going to go to this event, and then they have to do Pro League because they want to play in the finals there. So once that's all done and dusted, if they take it,
they also have
sure,
IEM
and we said
IM
this.
Sydney.
Yep. That's true. Okay.
That's
the last
fun,
thing. That's the
basically,
last
Chad.
thing they're confirmed for at this point.
Once Sydney's over, then they can probably have a break, right? If they take like a sizable break and practice and get things going, then they already got they've already dropped down in the ratings. The expectation has gone, so the pressure's off them in that regard. Then it's just about them having a good work ethic and getting back to good form. And there's no reason that they can't do that, because I don't think that Fur, Fallen, and Cold Zero have just gotten shit overnight. There's no way that I would accept that in a million years. So I think that the team, at the moment, they're in a pretty bad position. But I think going forward, there's still potential for them to be a good squad. And I think the same thing can be said for FaZe. It's just that this tournament right here, I want to make this outlandish call, which isn't actually that outlandish with everything I just put in context for you. If I'm at MIBR and I'm going into this, I just throw caution to the wind in my approach. I just don't play anywhere like I've been playing in the last couple of tournaments, I would just play super loose. You'd have your basic structure, but just play super loose. Who gives a fuck? Just go in there and have some fun. You can't do any worse than what you did on home soil. If you lose to Cloud9, sure, that's going to suck, but you know nothing about them, so you can't Counter-Strike. Just go into this event and have fun and try and enjoy Counter-Strike again for a little bit, because right now they're probably mentally hammered to a position where they're quite, down on themselves. And I think in this situation, just fuck it. Just go for it. Just have some fun. Do things that you like. Mix roles up, mix positions up. Play with some loose structure and just see what happens, because it can't get any worse than where it is right now.
Question for you all: Cloud9,
Yes.
FaZe Clan, or MIBR? Which one's going 0-5?
Cloud9.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's still gonna be like, sure. I was gonna say before we started all this other stuff about MIBR that sure we're like down on Cloud9 a lot, and for good reason. Obviously, they've just changed lineups, and not a lot of it makes sense from the outsider's point of view anyway. So like, obviously, we're not going to expect too much from them, but still, they have individuals that will be able to put up numbers. Like, especially if cajunb kind of has a little bit of a freer role, like Sponge said, maybe he's going to be a bit of an improvement in performance-wise as well. Automatic, we know that he's gonna provide stuff. Rush, he has like ups and downs, but he obviously has peaks where it can work very well. We saw it even during this whole year that they've been struggling. So I expect them to go 0-5, but I definitely would give them like a reasonable chance against an MIBR or a FaZe. Probably not anybody else. I don't see them beating Navi, Liquid, or Astralis in any world at this point. But FaZe and MIBR, I don't see why not with how they've been looking.
Yeah.
I would still
beat
logically.
Liquid.
Huh?
They're gonna beat Liquid in the domestic matchup,
No way.
and FaZe is gonna go 0-5. Fuck it.
Hey, okay. I was going to say MIBR or C9. Probably going to be MIBR, considering I don't think they would have any time to just work on anything else.
Look at FaZe's latest wins.
Bunch.
Vici, then lost to Renegades and Snort. The worst thing is, FaZe aren't looking that bad. Like, the losses they had were kind of close. Lost to decent teams. But at the same time, I think it will kind of... They also are doing like the world tour with Sao Paulo, then China, then here.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not counting on them to go to the grand final. And I think it could be an event where they totally flop and say, okay, we need to kind of think about what we're doing right here. We're just wasting time as it is.
I think...
Yeah, I could see that. But they still beat MIBR last time they met. So, and they at least came close to beating Astralis on Dust 2. So it's like they weren't all that bad. But
It's just like a random prediction,
Yeah.
This is where we talk about those teams. I think, I don't know if I referenced it here, I referenced it on broadcast, as you start to look at them as like VP, when VP was still a team that was dangerous, but they, kind of lost to shitters all the time. So it was a strange one. I don't think that MIBR and FaZe are in that same place. And I think that if you had to pick a team based completely off of logic in comparison to go 0-5, you would assume it to be Cloud9. But there is the upset potential purely because of the best of ones. Like, all they have to do is geek out super hard on like a T side of a map and then just win a string of rounds, and they could definitely win a game. Like, they could beat FaZe and they could beat Cloud9. Like, those,
they could easily get
they could beat FaZe or MIBR. Yeah,
they could easily get that like a Dust 2 against whatever, even FaZe.
I definitely think it's possible for them to win a game. So
the maps haven't been out yet, right? They haven't announced.
No, I think they've changed it now. I think that they do the videos the day before. Yeah, I guess the teams didn't like that, which actually was one of the cool things I liked about the Blast format was because having the videos done in advance meant that you could have more prepared matchups from the teams, or in theory, you could have more prepared matchups for the team. So you'd expect tendencies to be studied and that kind of stuff. But obviously, they think that the veto needs to play in now. The argument there, if I was a player, would be, in case I've had a map that I've been working on. Well, guess what? You're FaZe or Cloud9 or something like that, FaZe or MIBR or something like that. You haven't been working on a map because you've been traveling all the time. You don't have any fucking pocket picks. You don't have anything that you can pull out and blindside somebody with. So I think that Blast are obviously doing things that the players want or the players think are good. So this is probably why they've made the change.
By the way, none of us have to be right, because They could just beat each other. And
they could all,
everybody's
they could all go
1-4.
one.
But like in theory, we were predicting who was most likely.
Yeah,
We
I think it has to be Cloud9. Logically, it's just
Logically,
like
of
there's some potential for MIBR for sure or FaZe. Like basically, like we don't expect any of those three, to have a chance at the final. Well, it's going to be between probably Navi and Liquid for that second place, right?
Yeah.
I have a question. Now, this was a thought I was having, and it's kind of wild and out there. But how many tournaments do Astralis have to skip that we consider the real deal in terms of a gauntlet of a format before we start going, come on, guys, you're taking the piss a little bit too much now? Because they skipped Star Series. I understand that. It was China. It's obviously a big bit of travel. Sydney, I can give you that too.
Travel again.
But because it's such a big stretch of time, it feels...
You think it's too much?
Maybe.
Like where they could not drop off like
No,
in
I don't
terms
think
of
they're going to
ability,
drop
but...
off. The question then becomes of like, if you're only playing against these teams so seldomly, right? If you're only playing in the blast events, or if they're only playing in tournaments that like, well, realistically, yeah, they would only be playing in the blast events, right? Until Pro League, and that's only 14 round robin on LAN, so that's not like a big event until we get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
them,
June for ECS and EPL.
Yeah, so
like
they don't play
June.
anything. Yeah.
Well, they play
From the major till June, so like beginning of March to June. No, it's like 2-3 months.
Obviously, they're still the best team. Like I don't
the thing
think
is, like,
there's no
I
question
think the
there.
problem is because of Pro League, because they're going to have to potentially come back. Obviously, we expect them to place first in that last group. Then they will probably come back immediately after, or not immediately, actually. No, it's the finals, so that's a while. But potentially, if they don't make it through first place, they would have to come back like somewhere 2 weeks later. And then they will have Madrid.
Okay.
Or around there, they would have Madrid. So it's like 3 events that are pretty close to each other. So I'm not entirely surprised by this. But another thing, unless they just haven't been announced yet, they probably skipped DreamHack Masters as well.
They would be one of my first teams I'd be announcing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I'm expecting. I don't think
fucking way that they didn't announce them.
yeah, that's the thing. So especially like when they've announced a bunch of these other teams.
So they qualified for ECS, right? Which is only 8 teams, and unfortunately, and I said this, Prof and I actually said this when we talked about the ECS format in the first place. I since I've seen the ECS games online, I've really liked the change in the bracket format. I think it's really cool. I think that it's brought some excitement back to online Counter-Strike, so massive props to ECS there. But this is at no fault of their own. Because of that format and the nature of it, we've seen a lot of teams either skip it, and I know there's still qualifiers to go, I understand that, but now it gets a little bit more difficult, right? After week 3, because after week 3 it starts to become...
like point-based.
Yeah, so then it changes a bit, so you have to play in multiple qualifiers. But the problem is that they're kind of a victim of doing the right thing, is because if you have a qualifier online in those first 3 weeks, and a good team gets upset and a shit team ends up winning it, or like a team, like let's say you had a weaker qualifier and a team gets through who isn't necessarily like a scary team. Okay, well you only have 8 teams at your finals. You've just lost 1 slot to a team that we wouldn't consider like a top tier team. Yeah. And now that it's going to be point based towards the end, well, if you're a team who played in all of these qualifiers and you came, within the semis or whatever every time, you're more likely to get through, even if you can just consistently get to the semis or consistently, win your opening game. So I'm really a bit sad for ECS, because I think that their format is really good, and I think that what they've done is great for the players. It gives them everything that they wanted, but they're just going to be a victim of doing the right thing, and that sucks. Anyway,
it's a classic thing. Like players want it, but then the first 2 tournaments in Europe weren't really stacked. Even the second one had North, Vitality, Mousesports first event, Avantgarde, LDLC, which we know what it became now, Virtus Pro, Force, and Fnatic that literally just landed an hour ago from China.
Yeah.
So and then North went through, okay, that's not that bad. Like first week in NA, we had Complexity go through, actually Rogue, but then Complexity took the spot because they upset NRG in the semifinal. So that's kind of shit. At least NRG went through in the second week, because that could have been Furia, right? That was the grand final. That was so close. And if NRG didn't go through, then you have like MIBR, Liquid, NRG, all battling for like the 2 spots. Cloud9, you're kind of not doing that well with the teams you want at an event.
But it still gets worse from there, because you look at week 3 for both of these qualifiers and listen to these teams for the North American one. ATK, which is the South American team. Bad News Bears, South African team. Bad News Bears, Furia, INTZ, Space Station, Luminosity, Cloud9, who have just put their roster together, and Singularity. Not like Liquid's not playing, Renegades aren't there. Like, so that means that another team is going to get through that's shit. Then
MIBR is also not playing.
MIBR is not there as well. That you look at the European one, it's a bit better. Like, it's a little bit better, but you've got LDLC, Force, Optic, Virtus Pro, Avantgarde, Valiance, G2, and Fnatic. And it's like Fnatic and G2 are on the same side of the fucking bracket. The other side of the bracket is Avantgarde, LDLC, Valiance, and Optic. So let's say that Avantgarde and Valiance play each other. Then so let's say Avantgarde win. And the other side of things, fuck it, let's just throw Fnatic in there. I can see online that Avantgarde beat Fnatic, like, any day of the week. Like, that's not an impossibility.
What we're talking about here, just for the viewers, isn't that like Avantgarde doesn't deserve to be there, or that they're a bad team, as you said at the beginning. Like, everyone can beat everyone. It's gonna, like, they're a decent team. But as a tournament organizer, you want the big names because they bring like the viewership, they bring the fans.
Tickets.
Yeah, that's all the shit. Like Avantgarde isn't gonna bring people to watch like ECS finals in London. No one cares about them. Like, it's just a fact. So they want Fnatic, based in UK, legendary organization. So it's gonna be rough. Like, imagine Furia not going through the week 3, not winning it. Then they have like the most points going into the last 2 weeks. They could easily take the last spot. So no Liquid, no MIBR, no Renegades.
No Renegades. Holy shit.
That's gonna be rough.
It's an interesting one.
Just to touch on, quickly to retouch on what you were talking about with the straws, Chad. They're still gonna attend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 events until very early July, which is when Cologne ends. Which is so across the next 3 months, they will still have 5 events. So let's say it's almost 2 events a month. So that's not, it's not unreasonable.
Okay. It's not.
Especially when they go from Miami, well, from Leicester to Miami to Madrid, then sure they have like European only. They obviously have like a US event in between. So it's not unreasonable what they're doing at this point. It's just a lot of events stacked on top of each other almost. I guess the only part is like the month break before Cologne, which could just come down to them skipping Dallas, so they just want to really have a good preparation for one of the Grand Slam events, because they're skipping 2 others. So that's probably what they're thinking, is I would imagine anyway.
Now, shall we move this thing on and start doing our Blast Pro Series Miami fantasy draft? Should we get that done and then we can end the show, because we're already 20 minutes past?
If Lucas will let us.
Lucas, you're still alive?
Has the time. We're going.
Okay, he's creating
the lead, live draft, 5 of us, and
so we're actually gonna have some choices, because we'll have like 5 leftover players at the end.
Yeah, I'll honestly say I didn't prepare for this live draft.
I didn't either.
No. You need to prepare. I mean, it's only 16.
No, you don't. This is an easier one to do.
You should geek out. Have a fucking Excel sheet.
Okay,
I should have
just go with my style, bro.
I should have geeked out last time, because I was like clearly not prepared well enough, and I was just like picking a little bit too quickly. But this time it's very easy to go through, I think.
Bro, you should be just going with my style. Who do you think's be in the grand final? Pick players from that. I'm done. No problem.
I like winning.
1 minute. Okay, let's go. Like putting too much.
It's only happened once. Alright, we've been sent the link. Alright, Lucas, let's go. Always spam it double time.
Let's go.
No.